Hello, my dear friends. This is Rabbi Aharon Dobinsky, coming today from the holy city of Jerusalem, Israel. I want to remind you of something that's been said in Judaism for decades, for centuries, for millennia. It says that the concealed is very powerful. It's more powerful than what is revealed. And I'm telling you this because there's a lot of things going on in the world right now which we just don't understand. And that's okay, because we don't have to understand everything. Emunah tells us we have to trust in Hashem. And I had somebody the other day wrote me a letter or wrote me an email and said to me, stop saying that God's going to help. God does not get involved in elections. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. God doesn't get involved in elections? Okay, let's go back to the first lessons of Emunah. 1, everything comes from God. Everything comes from Hashem. 2, it always has a purpose, even if we don't see it at the moment. It's always for our ultimate best, even if we don't see it at the moment, which we don't. Okay, we don't see it. There was something that happened in Texas over the weekend, and a lot of people were disappointed. And some are going, oh, well, I guess that's just the way it goes. We tried our best, and they're off to the races. I don't know what's going to go on with that, but I'm going to tell you something. We can learn some things from this week's Parsha. This is a Parsha of Yosef. Yosef is his father's favorite, undeniably his father's favorite. Gives him a special coat and everything else, to the point where his brothers just can't stand him. They decide they need to kill him, or at the very least get rid of him. And what ends up happening is they end up throwing him into a pit full of scorpions and snakes. Now, do you think at that moment that Yosef said, oh, scorpions and snakes, my favorite, let's play? Of course not. Do you think he saw what was right about that? Probably not. But you know why he got there? Something else we need to take a lesson from. He told his dreams about himself being, I don't say better, but more superior to his brothers, and even his mother and father. He told them this. This was probably not the most advised thing to do, because all it did was serve to increase their hatred of him. It's a lesson in that. Maybe we shouldn't always say everything that's going on, everything that's in our mind, everything that we're thinking, everything that we're planning, because sometimes the concealed is more powerful than the revealed. But he did, and that was a lesson to us. So that's a lesson too that some people in the government, I believe, have taken to heart. There are a lot of people who've been complaining about the Attorney General of the United States. Why did he do this? Why did he do that? Why did he do the other thing? But you notice, you haven't really heard a lot about him at all, which leads me to believe, and you haven't heard the president say anything bad about him at all, which leads me to believe he's on a project. He's got a program that I don't know, you don't know, nobody really knows. Why? Because it's not advisable to say everything that comes to your mind, everything that you're thinking, everything that you're planning, and everything you're working on. So I have no idea what it is. It's concealed, which, as I remind you, is more powerful than the revealed. Let's go a little step further. Yosef, once he gets out of this pit, they sell him as a slave to traders that are going by. Now, it seems not a great thing, and it isn't a great thing. But let's look at something just to show you how Hashem gives you a hint sometimes that you are on the right track. Normally, these traders who he was sold to deal in petroleum and very smelly things. This particular group of traders was trading in spices, pleasant things. It would give Joseph not an unpleasant trip to where he was going, which was the land of Egypt. Does he know this? I don't know. It never says. But I get the idea, with all the other things he knew, he probably had a hint. So he gets to Egypt, they sell him to a man, and the man gives him control of his house because Joseph is wonderful. He does a great job. And Joseph takes care of his house. Then one day, when his master's away and all the other people are away from the house, his master's wife, well, let's say, she makes a pass at him. And he says no. But he's tempted. Why? Because he's human. And it was a big temptation for him. But he sees his father's face and realizes this is wrong and runs away. But in the process, he loses what he was wearing, and his master's wife keeps it and says that Joseph made a pass at her. Not true, doesn't matter. He ends up in jail. for 12 years. 12 years. Now, I want to ask you, if someone put you in jail for 12 years, and I guarantee you, at that time, what was a jail was probably a hole in the ground, would you say, oh, boy, 12 years in jail, I was hoping this would happen? Of course you wouldn't say that. That would be stupid, okay? But he kept his personality, he kept his joy, he kept his happiness, knowing that everything comes from Hashem, it all has a purpose, and that purpose is always, whether we see it or not at the moment, for our best, because he's a loving father, and that's what he wants for us, is he wants for us our best. Then you get the story of him telling the dream interpretations for two of the king's servants, one who was going to get returned back to the palace and one who was going to lose his head. And he was absolutely correct. So as the one who's leaving, who's going back to the palace, Joseph says to him, hey, my friend, listen, before you go, remember me to the king. Remember me to Paro. Tell him how good I am, what I've done here, and all the things I've done. And the guy says, sure, no problem, no problem. And he forgot for 2 years. When did he remember? When it was to his benefit to remember. When the king needed somebody to interpret a dream, and I remember this guy, Yosef. He might be able to help you. And he does. And he interprets a dream, and he takes Egypt, who was going to go into 7 years of was going to go into years and years of famine, and he helps prepare them for it, to the point where he is number 2 in the country. The only one above him is the king himself, Pharaoh. Happy ending to a really tough story. But as you can see, the trials and tribulations were never ending. And had he lost his faith, had he lost his emunah, had he backed out because something bad happened or something he didn't see as good happened, that never would have happened for him. But it did, and that's how Hashem works. A lot of times we don't see the plan, and that's okay. We don't have to. I'm going to tell you what I've told you before. When it comes to people in the world, Hashem says to Abraham, the first Jew, those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you, I will curse. Okay? And it's not the only time he says it again and again and again. And we've got to believe this is true. Now, in this current election, I don't think any of us have to really doubt which side is which on this one. I think it's pretty clear. One side wants to raise a moral level of the United States. One wants to see it sink back to where it was before the man who's in the job as president right now moved it up. So we know who these people are. We know how Hashem prefers for things to happen. I'm not saying at the end of the day that, maybe the election will come out exactly the way these people who cheated and frauded on it, maybe it will come out the way it looks. But I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. Because again, the guys in the white hats always win. Hashem wants what's best for the people. He wants what's best for the world. And the person that you're talking about in America is the only thing between not just the United States and a bad situation, but between the world and a bad situation. The only one strong enough to stand up to it, the only one stronger, is Hashem himself, or his representative that will come on this earth, Mashiach, who's already here. All the rabbis say he's here, and he's waiting just to be announced. We'll know when it happens. In the meantime, look at the situation. It's a situation where, again, we don't see everything. We'd like to think we do. Something happened bad in Texas. Oh my gosh, it's all over. No, it's not all over. Let me tell you something. We're in right now the days of Hanukkah, 8 days of Hanukkah. It said Hanukkah is a holiday celebrating miracles. The oil that was found that was not desecrated was supposed to last only a day, and it lasted for 8 days. And I'm going to tell you something else. This is something we read 3 times a day when we daven during Hanukkah. We also read it after every time we do, every time we bench, every time we do a bracha for a meal, okay? And I want to read it to you word for word so I don't get it wrong. So, this is to Hashem. You fought their battle, judged their judgment, acted to avenge them. You handed over the mighty to the hands of the weak, the many to the hands of the few, the defiled to the hands of the pure, the wicked to the hands of the righteous. Now, I don't think we say that anywhere from 3 to 6 times a day just because it's a nice thing to say. We say it because that's what we believe. We believe that? Okay. Well, what happens in a single incident doesn't make the thing. One battle does not make the war. So make sure that you keep faith in what your beliefs are and keep fighting for them. Don't go by the wayside. Don't be one of these, oh, well, I tried my best. I guess that's just the way it's going to be. This battle requires as much strength as we can possibly muster. With the Maccabees on Hanukkah, people say, wow, it's just amazing that these Jewish people, who are such a small group of people, beat the Greeks, who are the greatest military power on the face of the earth. It's not even that little. It's bigger than that. How many of the Jews fought against the Greeks? 5%. A small group and a small group of a small group, and they still were victorious. So let's remember that. We can be victorious in anything we do. The election in America is a good example. I use that because it is an example, but it's more than that. It's the type of thing that we need to do because we need to do it in everything in our lives. We have to remember, what is our purpose here? Mark Twain once said there are 2 greatest days in a person's life: the day that they are born and the day that they find out why they were born. So find out why you were born. Be strong. Stand up. Fight for what's right. Do what is for the best of the people. Do what is morally correct. This is a life you are put here to live. Be well, my friends. God bless you. Shavua Tov, Hanukkah Sameach. Have a great week ahead. Love you all. Bye-bye.